Delhi to Scotland, the journey is only external, not internal. Ranbir Kapoor is angry in the first scene.
About not having an internal journey. That's the purpose of this art, right? An artistically written film doesn't need to have a character grow. He can also be just as intense from the beginning right through to the end. And the situations around him only reveal his character layer by layer. There were several scenes where he seemed misogynistic, but there are a lot of artistic nuances underneath those. In the scene where he says, "Mahine mein 4 baar pad change karte ho," Gitanjali thinks he's paranoid because he thinks someone wants to attack them. 2 attacks already happened. He had to kill 300 people. She still thinks he was imagining things. So he wanted to show the condition of his body that happened because of that fight. He got shot 7 times. His bladder stopped working. And he wanted to make her understand what he's going through. So he had to use that line to trigger her. That's his way. I mean, you can call it misogynistic, but he wanted to get his point across to her head. Hey, today we'll be responding to the review of the movie Animal by Sucharita Tyagi. So let's get started.
Hi, this is a review for the movie Animal, a film that is neither entertaining nor has anything to say, the cinematic equivalent of a teenager having a hormonal temper tantrum.
Damn.
Hey all, my name is Sucharita.
So before we go into the nuances of this film, I need to set some context. Since the protagonist of this movie is a morally grey character, he has done some questionable things in this movie. So we won't be going into whether what he did was right or wrong. A lot of things he did were wrong, but we'll be discussing this film from a psychological and an artistic perspective on why he does certain things.
Welcome back to the channel where we talk about movies and occasionally with people making the movies. Today we've got the Ranbir Kapoor, Anil Kapoor, Rashmika Mandanna starrer Animal, edited, directed and co-written by Sandeep Reddy Vanga. Ranbir Kapoor is Ran Vijay, who, as you probably surmised from the trailer, has everything money can buy, except his father's love and attention. Never mind his poor mum enabling his bad behavior, all Vijay wants is to be able to spend his father Balbir's birthdays with him, again mother, very much alive and standing around looking sad, inconsequential. Now, denied this love, Vijay slowly turns into an animal with uncontrollable instinct, acting upon every single intrusive thought in his man brain. Also,
Man
because
brain.
Balbir is the richest or one of the richest men in India, nothing Vijay does, including straight up mass murder, has any legal consequences. Law enforcement, we don't know her. So the film
That is the world which Sandeep Reddy Vanga envisioned, right? It is his art. He can make his world however he wants.
takes place in flashback. I tried to figure out why I couldn't. The first scene is a prosthetically aged Ranbir Kapoor in the year 2056 telling a group of men an inane story about a monkey in a jungle. But just like this scene, much of Animal's screenplay presents sequence upon gory sequence purely for the shock value they provide. Look, violence for violence's sake, sexism for sexism's sake, declarations of masculinity only because one can.
How is it violence for violence's sake? They have shown pretty clearly that law enforcement wasn't enough in his case. Because what did law enforcement do when his father was attacked and even his body double was attacked? They were useless, so he had to rely on himself to protect his family. You can't call it violence for violence's sake.
You don't have to tell us twice. The entire film illustrates that it is in a man's world, using as many bullets and murders as it can. It's not a lament like Nikhil Nagesh Bhatt's ultra-violent Kill that premiered at TIFF, where violence is portrayed as a way of showing the trappings of masculinity, or that you have to resort to your manhood as a tool when all else fails, the one thing that gives you an automatic advantage in the world regardless of your social status. In Kill, Raghav Joyal and his men murder on a train because it's the only option they are left with to gather wealth in a system that doesn't work for them. In Animal, Vijay is violent because no one booked him a psych eval as a teenager. In this,
I mean, what is she comparing this movie to? In that Kill, as she said, they were violent to make some money. Here he was violent for self-defense. He was protecting the family.
slasher movie, men protect the honor of their families as real men must, using swords, axes and guns. Enough references are made to penises and body hair to underline this declaration.
People who watch this movie in this frame of mind have missed a lot of artistic nuances and psychological nuances of this film. The character of Ran Vijay was so cleverly written. He doesn't understand why things are done in a certain way in this world. In that scene when he asks his butler whether he shaved, he says yes and he asks him why did he shave. girlfriend ने बोला, doctor ने बोला. I mean, what is the need to shave, right? It is because society has set some expectations on people. And even in another scene where his wife wears a lingerie for him, uh, he says इसकी कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. I mean, why do you need it, right? So he's very, I wouldn't say innocent, but idealistic in a way. But it is a well-written character.
पापा सुनाई दे रहा है, बेरा नहीं हूं मैं।
Anil Kapoor is Balbir, a businessman so preoccupied with his empire, he seemingly doesn't even retaliate or care upon realizing a teacher at school has physically assaulted his son. While the actor is, very good at his job, especially in the yelly scenes where he tries to parent his enfant terrible. Aside from this, though, the character is a ping pong ball bouncing around a screenplay that's desperately trying to justify its protagonist's rage with some semblance of a reason why it is translating so murderous. When Balbir is not yelling vocational platitudes
Why will it translate murderous? Because someone is trying to kill their family. I mean, common sense.
like I run a business across 3 time zones, he sits behind an office desk silently simmering, allowing his progeny to rain hell, clearing his conscience with the occasional, I don't agree with your methods. As Ranbir Kapoor enters the film, interrupting yet another wedding with yet another embarrassing song performance, a sort of fourth wall breaks, reminding you how many times you've seen the actor do this before. Almost like reading our minds, the film then goes, aha! You think you know Ranbir, huh? Now
The Gitanjali character is also extremely well written. That scene where he explains her about alpha male and all, she kind of falls for him, but people missed another nuance of this. In a later scene, Gitanjali reveals that she got to know about him taking an assault rifle to protect his sister. She knew he had those traits. It's not like she fell for him because he explained her some theories.
let me show you what your wildest imagination could not have anticipated.
You're fighting ghosts in your head. Do you even realize that?
मैं गो से लड़ता नहीं हूं, उन्हें कहा जाता हूं।
Now that's what Animal boils down to, intending to provoke snowflakes and opinionated critics of Vanga's last outing, Kabir Singh, very carefully picking out commentary on that film and giving it just a little bit of a twist. So you were concerned at men applauding when Kabir slapped Preeti? Sure, Vijay will never slap his wife Gitanjali, played by Rashmika. She will slap him. So when you bring up Vijay's misogyny, these slaps can be invoked. Oh, you
Yeah, we will bring up his misogyny.
didn't like how Kabir debased Preeti? Look how Gitanjali now debases herself. It's almost like Vijay fancies himself as a Napoleonic king. There's a scene in both Ridley Scott's recent Napoleon and Animal where this conqueror returns home to his nubile, attractive wife and makes her take her clothes off in front of the house help, presenting her body for him to admire and touch. While Ridley Scott's Napoleon is seen through a comedic lens, a pitiable fool who doesn't realize all his heinous actions are leading him towards an embarrassing end. Vanga's Vijay is heroic and tragic right up till the end, asking his audience to empathize with and love this sad, broken but strong man who kills people because his father didn't cut a birthday cake or two.
No, he doesn't kill because his father didn't cut a birthday cake. He kills because he has to. Otherwise, they would kill him.
The best father in the world. Don't ever go there.
I shall not and honestly cannot get into all the misogyny of this film because anything a female film critic will have to say about this movie will be reduced to a feminist is just splitting hairs over a film.
Yeah, we will bring up his misogyny. There were several scenes where he seemed misogynistic, but there are a lot of artistic nuances underneath those. In the scene where he says, "Mahine mein 4 baar pad change karte ho," Gitanjali thinks he's paranoid because he thinks someone wants to attack them. 2 attacks already happened. He had to kill 300 people. She still thinks he was imagining things. So he wanted to show the condition of his body that happened because of that fight. He got shot 7 times. His bladder stopped working. And he wanted to make her understand what he's going through. So he had to use that line to trigger her. That's his way. I mean, you can call it misogynistic, but he wanted to get his point across to her head. Similarly, वो जूता चाटने वाला scene. That girl, Tripti Dimri, the Zoya character, what she did to him was far worse than what he asked her to do. And bootlicking doesn't really happen, he takes off his foot from there. There were a few other scenes which can be considered misogynistic, where he warns his sister that he doesn't like the guy she's seeing. But he's very good at reading people. He saw through those guys and he was proven to be correct later when both of them were involved in the assassination attempt on his father. So he was being a protective brother. And in a scene, he backs his sister to join their company. And since the Gitanjali character was so well written, she was extremely courageous. She kissed him in front of her family and left with him since they were against their marriage. So he knew she was brave. So there is this problematic scene where he points a gun at her when she says something about his father. Yeah, it is a problematic scene, but if you look at it from an artistic lens, he knows she is very brave. I mean, pointing gun at her wouldn't really phase her, and she knows that he loves her. So she dares him to shoot her. He shoots it in the air, and the scene continues. Uh,
There's enough in the length here to be used as a counter. Oh, you don't like that he asked Tripti Dimri to lick his boots, but how about her plan?
Yeah.
You didn't like how he treated his sisters, huh? So a brother shouldn't step in to protect his sisters. These aren't arguments that can be had, and frankly, getting involved with them takes focus away from the larger discussion I believe that we should have around the current climate of Hindi cinema that celebrates major movie stars and filmmakers coming together to propagate hot-tempered brutality as an acceptable or perhaps the only way of attaining justice. Wickedness masquerading as goodness. I wondered if the script and story of this film were arcless and pointless for a reason. Stitched mostly episodically, Animal never crescendos because its
I don't know why she calls this movie artless and pointless, because there is lot of art in this film. This film crescendos multiple times, even if it is for the shock value of it. In the initial scenes, he takes an assault rifle to protect his sister. This movie is a breath of fresh air for men who want to do things. Not that we need to emulate it as it is per se, but just the obsession with the family. There are other crescendos in this film too. When they reveal his Jija was one of the accomplices in the assassination attempt on his father, the time occupied by violent scenes in this film is very less. Just a few minutes before the interval and few minutes before the climax. Rest of the film is mostly family drama and art. Lot of films go by the template, but this film didn't. It showed the downfall phase of the protagonist, and lot of drama happened during this phase, right? Because he was shot and a lot of drugs were pumped into his body, so he was very disoriented, as Rashmika's character says. You have to see it from that lens. In a scene, he overheard Gitanjali's parents telling her to find a new guy because he was about to die. So he's hurt and he throws his food, and because mood swings, he has those drugs in his body. So Gitanjali mixes lot of salt in his food and gives it back. He realizes that and says, अगली बार तुमको गुस्सा आया तो salt और पेपर में मत उतार, सीधा जहर मिला दे, किस्सा खत्म. That shows how hurt he feels because of that. Another crescendo of this movie is his nude walk. After he recovered, he walks nude in his mansion. Yes, there is shock value in that scene, but that's what it is. It is his rebirth. It is pure art, that scene. If you see in the left corner of the screen, his medical report is shown. That means he had his art surgery and he recovered from that. And all of his cousins celebrate by firing their guns into the air. That scene was brilliant, man. Very artistic. And if we talk about misogyny, that Abrar Haq guy and Anil Kapoor are far more misogynistic than Vijay. Vijay listens to his wife's opinions. Those guys don't even listen. That Abrar guy is beating them.
Protagonist is almost always very consistently flat angry. When at school, a digitally de-aged Ranbir Kapoor shoots an AK-47 style assault weapon and drives boys off the road in his car, the rage in his small frame is proportionate to that in his bulkier figure in the climactic shirtless fight with Bobby Deol.
This character doesn't act purely on rage. He does things very calculatively. Since he wanted to scare the people who assaulted his sister, he had to do those things.
Delhi to Scotland, the journey is only external, not internal. Ranbir Kapoor is angry in the first scene, he's angry in the last. And
as I said, he's not angry, he's very calculative. About not having an internal journey, that's the purpose of this art, right? An artistically written film doesn't need to have a character grow. He can also be just as intense from the beginning right through to the end. And the situations around him only reveal his character layer by layer.
Is not written to present finesse in cinematic storytelling, character developments, subplot, conflict, catharsis, or pathos. The film is a 3.5-hour long bait for cultural commentators. It's almost sad, really. The craft of filmmaking is sacrificed for glamorous scenes where a group of masked men appear at a hotel to kill Vijay right at he's in another room doing an arms deal. Means har tarah ka weapon uske paas hai. The seemingly old boy inspired corridor axe fighting sequence is overlaid with dexterity over Bhupinder Babbal singing Arjan Vaile, and it looks magnificent. But that's all it is, shock value. I did wonder what the mask budget of the opposing team was, and why the foot soldiers kept their masks on as their ringleader, the most important guy who must conceal his identity, immediately takes his off. Did they all have trial fittings before being sent into action? 200 of them on their way to kill one man?
पापा, ये तो शुरुआत है. बहुत काम बाकी है पापा.
Animal doesn't exist in a reality you and I know and can perceive. But neither
Of course, it's a film.
is it convincing as a purely fantastical, melodramatic Bollywood film where disbelief must be suspended. When Vijay, in another fit of rage, kills a prominent man and all his stooges with about 100 eyewitnesses in the middle of a conference, orchestrating what can only be described as a massacre, it is barely referenced again in the film. The writing is uninterested in tying loose ends or satisfactorily culminating subplots. So all I'm taking from this is, India mein ultra-rich can get away with not just murder but wholesale slaughter. And don't come for me now saying why I must invoke this India thing. The film invites you to look at its protagonist as a sort of ghar mein ghus ke marenge new age Indian man. Something you've heard Hindi cinema espouse before. Background score is pointedly halted during a Havan scene for Gitanjali to ask Vijay to drink cow urine, which he promptly does. During a fight sequence, a hybrid lawnmower-esque bullet machine is emblazoned with...
These two were another crescendos in this film, the Arjun Valley scene and this machine gun scene. He designs this gun and gives it to the manufacturer to produce it.
Made in India. Upendra Limai, as a jumpy arms dealer Freddy, proudly proclaims his weapons are an example of Atmanirbhar Bharat, yelling "Salute the champion" after Vijay achieves his Vijay using said weapons. On the contrary, the bad guy, played by Bobby Deol, is Abrar Haq, a Muslim with 3 wives. As he murders someone during his 3rd wedding, right in the introduction scene, in the sequence after, he summons all 3 of his wives in his bedroom, proceeding to violently rip their clothes off, giving the men in the audience a quick chuckle. In the bare-chested climactic sequence between Vijay and Abrar, the men decide to fight one-on-one. As their bodies collide, Biprak's voice echoes, "Papa, mujhe aapka na hona maar dega." If it weren't so unintentionally hilarious, I would have been more impressed with the frankly genius casting of Bobby Deol as Ranbir Kapoor's long estranged cousin. Identical twins, a man watching half observes. Yeah, I buy it. But despite the gore, heavily underlined machismo and provocative sexism, Animal is simply desperately dull. One could appreciate Amit Roy's love for Ranbir Kapoor's face and the close-ups he shoots off him, the dexterity of Vanga's match cuts in the edit, and Harshvardhan Rameshwar's precise background scoring. But at 201 minutes, all of it blurs into a cacophony of blasts and blasphemy.
That is because people didn't try to analyze this movie from an artistic lens. There are a hell lot of artistic nuances, all of which I have discussed. This film is a brilliantly written family drama, which had few gore sequences in between.
Like I said, the treatment of women, mother, sister, girlfriend, wife, it's all a bait the film wants you to rise to. Gitanjali forgives her husband's atrocious disregard for her because he stood by her as she delivered his children. As she admonished...
Yeah, it's called gratitude. And this ties into the alpha male character Vanga had tried to portray him to be. Alpha males throughout the history have been polygamous. So he does love both his wife Gitanjali and the Zoya character, because in a scene where his wife tells him to kill Zoya, he refuses.
Punishes him for smoking in the middle of a church after he's had heart surgery. He shoves his iPods in her ears in response, where she can hear the 2 of them having sex for the first time. A recording he's managed to... Immediately her anger fades and she's turned on. Call it what you will, Animal is not dishonest. Vijay goes so far as to tell his son he's a movie director. And yet, despite seeing the filmmaker almost appear in his passionate but applesauce screenplay, the film fails to hold your attention beyond the midway mark. It itself sort of deflates as it runs out of space to add even more half-cooked mini-narratives. Characters have sudden changes of heart, tears are shed, hugs are shared, little of which translates as things should in the 3rd act of a film, because now your brain is numb from the assault of everything that has come before. There will be as many reactions to reviews of the film as there will be to the film itself. One can safely assume interviews will begin in a few days, arming fan armies and social media trolls with fresh vocabulary to use on X, formerly known as Twitter. There will be more noise on more platforms decrying opinion, calling critics woke feminists. Perhaps this might be the actual conversation one should be having around cinema as it exists in 2023, an expectation to adhere to a manufactured status quo. Actors and filmmakers will appear in year-end roundtables now, politely saying, oh, everybody's entitled to their opinion, as their social media armies will work overtime to verbally abuse dissenting opinion into oblivion. The film will make a ton of money as nameless, faceless folks descend in droves in our mentions, in our comments, with threats in the most colorful language. An
Don't
audience
do that.
invigorated, activated. One can take pride in their work, but look around and see, are they taking responsibility?
I really wish you died that day.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, Animal is one scene may even Shakti Kapoor looks sort of surprised at the excessive bloodlust. Go watch the movie and tell me in the comments what you think. Subscribe to my channel before you leave. My name is Sacharita. I really want to get to that 100,000. Thank you for stopping.
I think she did. She did get 200,000. So yeah, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 because as a roller coaster, this film is very fun. He's a flawed character that is there, but it is very entertaining in that.